My recommendation for Pakistan's foreign policy would be focus on fixing your domestic situation. You fix your domestic situation, a number of your foreign policy issues, troublesome issues, will resolve themselves. If we do implement our national action plan, it will be step by step. And step by step means that some of the things that India is eagerly looking for may come further down the road. If you move forward with Pakistan and let this be treated as Pakistan's own internal problem, which it will handle at its own pace, I think that a lot could be done. So there is something that India can do, there's something that Pakistan can do to make these things happen. I see ISIS having very good prospects here. What worries me equally is that the prospects of the same nature exist in Afghanistan. And I see this particular effort on the part of the Taliban leadership to give a new image to Mullah Omar and to reassure people by publishing his biography that he still remains in control. That it is coming largely because the Taliban, the junior ranks of the Taliban are beginning to desert him or to look in another direction. And what happens to the Afghan Taliban is going to be an indication of what is going to happen to your Taliban. And therefore, to me, ISIS is serious because that appeals to people, and if they feel that their local leaders are letting them down or are not pursuing this with the vigor that they believe is required, then ISIS will be a serious threat. Modi talked about, he gave an interview before he left for Europe, in which he said that we want to improve our relations with Pakistan. We want to do it on the basis of Simla and Lahore, but in an atmosphere free of terror. So we must recognize that remains, it's exaggerated, maybe it's being used as an excuse because otherwise there are issues on which agreements have been reached and on which implementation could take place immediately. Well, I think right now you are having no substantive discussions at all. That to my mind is the principal obstacle. Because if you have reached agreement on these non-tariff barriers, then you have cleared a large hurdle. Then you should be able to move to that, to the NDMA status or whatever. And if you move to the NDMA status, then a number of things open up. If Reliance Industries wants to think in terms of exporting, for instance, refined product, rather than our relying on Kuwait for white product that we get it from a Reliance refinery in Gujarat, so much the better. Perhaps it's going to happen that way. I was told recently that now things have moved ahead with regard to the export of palm from India to Pakistan, and that an agreement or some letter of intent at least has been concluded between the two sides for 500 megawatts of power from India to Punjab. I have been an advocate from the start of the fact that in certain textile products we need a niche market. Apparently bed linen, lawn are two items in which we have a competitive advantage, but that competitive advantage may not be as high as, for instance, the Chinese. So if you create a special tariff under SAFTA and then under SAFTA, then perhaps that would be a market that Pakistan could more easily exploit. Unfortunately, Pakistan has become a haven for smuggling. And this has to stop, because this does more to erode your own industry than anything else. Apart from this war economy that you think of in terms of contraband goods, it's much worse in terms of contraband drugs, because the last figures that I saw suggested that 33 to 35% of the opium that is produced in Afghanistan transits through Pakistan. And you would have to be extremely naive to believe that at least 10% or 15% of that does not stay within the country. Afghanistan has now talked about the fact that in a population of 30 million, it has an addict population of 1.5 million. We are talking about the Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India pipeline as being a very good thing. We're talking about Iran, Pakistan, India pipeline, if it comes to fruition, that it should not be purely an IP, it should be an IPI. Now, if we do this, then there is a certain logic to moving in the other direction.